In 1863, Peter works as a slave on a cotton plantation with his wife, Dodian, and their children. When he finds out he's been sold to a new owner, he prays with his family before white men come to take him away. Peter fights back, but when they threaten Dodian, he reluctantly goes. Despite his cooperation, the men still hurt him. Peter and other slaves are then taken in a cage to a new place where they have to work on building a railroad. The conditions are much worse, and the masters are cruel, using violence and Bible quotes to control the slaves. Dogs are used to catch those who try to escape, and punishments are severe, sometimes even deadly. Peter tries to help others, but he's yelled at for it. One night, Peter overhears guards talking about Lincoln freeing the slaves, giving hope to those who want to escape. When Peter tries to defend a young slave, he's threatened with death but spared because the master takes interest in him. Later, Peter plans an escape when a distraction occurs, killing some guards and fleeing with others. Though they face gunfire, they run for their freedom. Before they get lost in the woods, Fassel also starts shooting, killing some deserters. Angry that Peter got away, he sends Harrington, Knowles, and the dogs after him. Peter teams up with 3 friends, guiding them through the forest, listening for danger. They reach the swamps, but Thomas freezes when he sees crocodiles and the dogs catch up to him. Fassel makes a deal with Thomas, promising to let him go if he tells where the group is heading. Thomas confesses, but Fassel betrays him, letting the crocodiles attack. Meanwhile, Peter, John, and Gordon safely cross the swamp. Peter wants to take another route, but John insists on the horse trail, feeling safer with a gun. Gordon decides to go his own way. Peter's leg is bleeding, and he needs to treat it before the dogs find him. He finds a house owned by a white family with slaves. He uses a vine as a tourniquet, sneaks water, and steals a shirt to bandage his wound. When a child sees him, Peter runs into the forest, but the family alerts Fassel. Peter tricks them by leaving a bloodstained shirt and hides underwater. Fassel falls for it, and Peter kills a crocodile before escaping. At that moment, Dodian wakes up from a nightmare where she saw her husband in danger. The kids wake up too, worried about their father. Dodian reassures them, saying he's alive and will return soon because he's survived things no one else could. When night falls, Peter hides in a tree, removing swamp leeches with his knife, accidentally letting some blood drip on the plants below. Meanwhile, Fassel and his men find the dead crocodile empty, realizing Peter escaped through it. They camp for the night and eat the crocodile, with Harrington even complimenting Peter's skill, which angers Fassel. The next morning, Peter continues running, covering himself in mud and animal waste to hide his scent. When crossing another swamp, he prays for safety, taking sunlight as a sign. Fassel splits his group to search more ground. Peter finds an abandoned treehouse with water, food, and hot coals. He heats his knife to cauterize his leg wound and smokes out bees for honey. Fassel sees the smoke and heads towards it, but Peter escapes in a boat he finds in the treehouse. Meanwhile, Dodian's master informs her she's being sold and will leave in 2 days. Peter follows the direction they came from and finds a house on a plantation engulfed in flames, with all the white people dead. It seems the slaves here took matters into their own hands after hearing the news from Lincoln. With his knife ready, Peter cautiously enters the house and indulges in food and wine he finds on the dining table to replenish his strength. However, he hears a strange noise upstairs and investigates, discovering a dying girl trapped under a harp. Despite her fear, she asks Peter to stay with her, giving him her cross pendant as a plea for a prayer. Distracted, Peter doesn't notice Harrington approaching until it's too late, forcing him to drop his knife and step away from the girl to avoid being shot. The girl dies soon after Peter leaves her, enraging him to the point where he violently kills Harrington with a cross. Knowles arrives, but Peter quickly grabs Harrington's weapon and shoots him. Knowles tries to reason with Peter, suggesting that someone capable of killing a crocodile might be valuable to Fassel, but Peter rejects him, leaving him to face Fassel alone, alerted by the barking dogs. Peter decides to seek cover in the cotton fields, shooting a dog that gets too close. Fassel finds the dead dog, fueling his determination to catch Peter. The next morning, Peter reaches a beach littered with the bodies of white men who died fighting against Lincoln's army. Though there are no provisions, Peter sees ships and hears cannons, signaling that Lincoln's men are close. Excited by the prospect of freedom, Peter begins running again, but is suddenly attacked and knocked down by a horse. It's Fassel. Fassel offers Peter some meat and demands obedience, but before he can shoot, someone else shoots him. Peter declares Fassel is no god and is met by Lincoln's native guard, led by Lieutenant Keogh. Exhausted and hungry, Peter is taken to an infirmary tent in Baton Rouge, where his leg wound is treated. After dreaming about his family, Peter recovers and receives new papers as a free man, though he has to fabricate some information. However, he's not allowed to leave yet because the white soldiers consider the slaves stolen property. They're given 2 options: work on federal farms or join the army. Peter initially refuses, but decides to join when he realizes it could help him rescue his family and secure his freedom. In the army, Peter discovers that Gordon is alive but injured. Peter is glad to see Gordon, but it's painful to tell him about John. Afterwards, Peter goes to the CQ for his uniform, where he's asked if he'd be willing to pose for a photograph to help the cause. Though wary, he's assured by Q that the white photographers mean no harm. These pictures aim to reveal the truth about slavery to the world. Peter agrees and bares his back, displaying the scars of countless whippings. Next, he meets the general, who questions him about intelligence regarding the enemy's railroad. After sharing what he knows, the general notices Peter's scars and suggests they indicate disobedience, which concerns him. Peter defends himself, explaining that despite the beatings, he never stopped fighting, a quality he believes is important for a soldier. At dawn, Q leads Peter and his fellow soldiers to the trenches, where they're reminded they're fighting for freedom. Despite casualties from enemy fire, they press on without hesitation. In the midst of battle, Peter is struck by an explosion, rendering him unconscious for a brief period. As soon as Peter regains consciousness, he pushes through the pain, continuing to help by shooting at the enemy and offering blessings to dying comrades. Despite falling in battle, he eventually finds a wounded Gordon. Seeing his friend's suffering inspires Peter to emerge from hiding and charge towards the enemy lines, determined to stop the cannons. Many soldiers, inspired by Peter's bravery, join him, and the native guard overwhelms their enemies, securing victory. With the war over, the army visits every plantation to free the slaves. When they reach the plantation where Peter used to work, everyone is initially shocked, but joy replaces disbelief as they realize freedom is real. Seeing his former master meet justice brings closure. Peter searches for his family, nearly breaking down when he can't find them. However, a silent prayer leads him to them, and they embrace him with hugs. The photograph of Peter becomes an iconic symbol of history, spreading worldwide. Thanks to Lincoln's proclamation, over 400,000 black people found freedom by 1863, and by 1865, nearly 4 million slaves in America were recognized as free. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.